folks, welcome to Never on the Backfoot. Last night, we once again witnessed a thrilling last ball finish. This time around, the oppositions were Delhi and UP Warriors. Delhi would be mighty happy with the kind of performance they put in, right? Registering their first win of the season meant, a world of good for their campaign. But UP Warriors will have obviously a lot to reflect on because this is what their third consecutive loss on the trot, and people magically felt, Meg Lanning coming in would ensure that they'd win everything, but clearly a lot of structural issues that they need to work out. But in today's WPL Morning Show, I am joined by Shajin.
Muted.
Yeah, seems like my mic just went off there, but we will obviously discuss how like UP Warriors could have posted a lot more pattern first, but things didn't pan out the way they did. But even Delhi Capitals, right, chasing almost took it till the last ball. But without further ado, let me start off by asking Shachin like his first impressions of the match itself, right? Delhi Capitals felt it felt like they were controlling large phases of the game, and UP also could have pulled off a victory there. But yeah, just talk us through your impressions of the game.
Yeah. Sorry. Hi, Neha. Thank you for having me again without retiring me out. So it was the battle of bottom table crash. You can say that, and it ended up being a low-scoring thriller. That I wasn't expecting it to go that way at the end, and there is a lot more to talk about. Be it the retired out and eventually how the game panned out.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot to discuss, and through the course of our discussion, we've kept a lot of interesting takeaways and observations from this game as well. But let's start off with the toss itself, right? I mean, Delhi opting to field first on a surface that stayed consistent through the night. Like, what did you make of that? And do you think that decision was quite decisive in nature?
Yes, of course, all the teams have been choosing to field first anyway. And the thing was that it was not like the other surfaces that DY pattern had. It looked slower, at least in the second half of both innings. The game slow, the pitch really slowed down once the ball got soft. And you can say that the first 10 overs eventually decided the game, and DC made that really good decision, and DC also made that decision to stuck with the same squad that they played in the last game, and they didn't. It was basically like a tale of 232s. They didn't drop snare run after going for 32 runs, whereas UP Warriors decided to drop Deandra Doughton after that 32 run over. And but Deandra even looked distraught in the last match. I hope they handle her really well.
Yeah, interesting point you bring in there, right? About the playing combinations that both the teams opted for. Did sort of bring in a bit of discussion there. But let's look at UP Warriors and the kind of batting performance they had up front, right? I think Kiran Navgire's, I wouldn't say bad form or lean patch, but then her inconsistent run, so to say, continued, right? She was dismissed for a three-ball duck, but Meg Lanning at the other end was, just going hammer and tongs as we would sort of expect her to do, scoring what, a 38 ball 54. Again, Shajin, if you had to put in perspective Kiran's form itself and how Meg Lanning has been doing most of the heavy lifting, yeah, how would you put that in perspective?
Yeah, so I don't know what's going on with their opening combo. Say they said the last game they wanted to protect Kiran from Lauren Bell, and now they don't want to protect her from Marizanne Kapp. So they have to decide what way they're going. By going by the press conference Lisa Stelegar did after the match, I think they have zeroed it on Meg Lanning and Kiran Navgire as the opening combo going forward. And Kiran also could have been more careful against Kapp, and she could have played that out over. I mean, no money eventually bowled the second over, so maybe she could have waited. And now it will be interesting how she goes against Shabnam Ismail today.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's not a lot of turnaround for these matches, which will mean UP will play another match tonight. But let's talk about Meg Lanning's knock itself, right? That 54 of 38 really set the tone for UP. Again, her partnership with Harleen Deol stabilized the innings, right? After that early loss of Navgire. So again, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so Meg Lanning looked determined from the start. She really got off for 11 or 4 of balls or something, and then she took her time, and eventually she again went for it. And she was really timing the ball through the offside as well, and that six as well. That looked really magnificent. And I thought Meg Lanning was really good, even though her control was like around 76% according to Pick Info. So she was willing to sacrifice that control to be associated with her, and she was willing to take a few more risks. But the wicket wasn't easy to bat on. Even the set batters struggled a little bit in the second half. So once Meg Lanning went, UP Warriors really struggled, and those decisions also came about. So Meg Lanning has been really good. You can't really fault her batting for yesterday's loss.
Yeah, I mean, the going was always going to be tough, once Meg Lanning was dismissed. And before we talk about Harleen Deol, the kind of knock she played and your impressions of it, Phoebe Litchfield again, right? Coming in at three, playing a crucial knock there. What, 20 ball, 27. For the longest time, I vouched for her to be in that middle order, somewhere coming in at probably five. But then there's an entire school of thought that believes, probably her opening, coming in at number three is ideal. Again, Shajin, if we could get your thoughts on probably just the knock itself and the ideal batting position according to you for her.
Yeah, talking of ideal batting position again, going by Lisa Steleker, she said that you don't want Harleen to bat ahead of Phoebe Litchfield. She asked the whoever asked the question, she asked that, do you want Harleen Deol to bat ahead of Phoebe Litchfield? So that's where she will be batting, I think, now number three. So it will work for her, but sometimes she has that tendency of going after the ball right away. She could have waited for a couple of deliveries against Neerana because she had been dismissed against Neerana before as well. So, and Neerana also made that comeback. She got one to pass through Megla, Phoebe Litchfield, and got that in the first delivery. But with Phoebe Litchfield, is you know that she always looks good, even if she scores a 10 ball 20. She always looks good, and she has the audacious shots that she can always bring out. So maybe they will hope for a longer innings from her tonight.
Yeah, fingers crossed that she can, give one of those breathtaking performances that, she's sort of set a reputation for. But now comes the biggest, sort of elephant in the room that we have to address, Shajin. I mean, that has to be Harleen Deol's knock, right? 47 runs coming off 36 balls. She's striking at what, 130. And you see midway, she is retired outright, a decision that the management thinks was sort of the right one. Now, again, what did you make of it? Did you feel like, hey, she had that possibility of going like for the bigger ones? Because in our previous discussion we spoke about how Ayushi Soni was retired hurt, and that decision sort of ended up working well for her team. But in this case, probably after that retired out thing, you could see how a string of wickets fell. None of the batters were able to, except besides Shweta Sehrawat, even go past that two-figure mark. So again, do you think this was like a poor call?
It will be in hindsight, but you can't really say how that Harleen innings would have progressed if she went on to bat the whole 20 overs. But she started really well. She was on 28 of 16 at one stage, when then she struggled. But it's not just her; all the other batters struggled in the second half. And for a setup like UP Warriors, she might be someone they need because they don't have a lot of solid options with varying batting abilities of Kiran Navgiri, Shweta Sehrawat. Even Deepti Sharma is not someone who can play that solid. No, she can be a fail safe. Even India uses her that way. She is someone who they send up ahead when a lot of wickets fall. I think Harleen really started well, and she played those offside shots as well. And she was looking really good at 28 of 16. Then she struggled against Shafali Verma of all people. But Shafali has been really bowling well in recent times. So maybe it's the wicket, or maybe it's Shafali's bowling. You never know.
Yeah, I think it's just one of the things we'll never know. But we have an interesting comment coming up in our live chat that I'm very inclined to take. Kavya goes on to ask us, or this could again be a comment, that Harleen Deol batted so well and the pitch is slower. She is a settled batter. It will also affect batters' confidence. And Deepthi came at 8, bowled like 14, like bowled the 14th over and picked 2 wickets even. So Shajin, again, like at large, when you look at this whole concept that team management seem to be coming up with, like the retired hurt concept, teams utilizing, there's like the sense of stigma too, right? You're retired hurt because you're not contributing as much to the team's effort, and probably you're better off, sitting than actually being on the field. Like, how do you look at it, and teams being strategic about it, but then also hopefully not affecting the players' confidence there?
Yeah, there is a lot to talk about retired out. It went really well for the Gujarat Giants last night, the last game, and it didn't work out for UP Warriors. But it's more than that, how you decide to do it and what kind of pitches, and are you assuming all the pitches will be really flatter and you can have a new batter coming in and really scoring. And you are also dealing with players who are also human beings, and they will have their own emotions. Harleen Riol was really hurt when they pulled back in, and I think she wasn't expecting that. Maybe they could have sent out a message, not just about getting a move on. They could have said, even if you score a few runs, we will be hoping that the hitters to come after will be scoring at a better rate than you. So it will be better for the team that maybe you should. It would still hurt, but it would be better have someone like Klinger had that arm around Ayushi Soni the last night, and there was nothing of that sort with Abhishek Nair. And as Lisa Selekar also raised a valid point, they were all on board once Abhishek Nair informed that they want to retire Harleen out. But Lisa Selekar did ask Abhishek Nair that Meg just got out, and do you want to call in the other set batter as well? Then we will have two new batters. That was the only point they discussed, but eventually that's the call they taken, and it didn't work out. It didn't. It fared really badly, and they really fell away in the power play in the death overs.
Yeah, you could clearly see that because when you sort of do a dissection of how UP Warriors and their sort of batting scorecard panned out, they scored what 47 in the power play. Then the middle overs saw them accelerate a little bit. But after that whole Harleen Deol retired hurt sort of a thing, new batters coming in, they managed only what 33 runs right across those last 6 overs.
Five,
Now
five.
again, do you think this was the phase that Delhi sort of clawed their way back into the match, and for UP to even go past that 160, 170 mark was just seeming impossible?
Yeah, just to add to one more point about return out, do you really want to reward? Do you really want to reward teams for making bad calls? I think return out shouldn't be allowed. You have sent in a batter who is known to be slow or who was playing so. So do you really want the bowlers don't get that freedom? The underdog was going for 24 runs, and she can't be like, I am retiring out from this over, and maybe someone else will complete the over. So that's something they will have to discuss, and it's new in women's cricket, and the players will be really hurt at the start at six. So they will have to at least talk in the team meetings and to make sure that even if you are going really well, maybe we should look at other big hitters. Maybe it will come up, maybe it won't, but it's still that's the call we will be taking. But you have to get everyone on board. Now, as far as the UP Warriors innings is concerned, I think the second half everyone struggled, and Shafali was really bowling well. She was really pushing the ball hard, the faster ones and the slower ones. She even bowled those wide Yorkers, and Lisa Selekar also mentioned that Shafali's bowling was the turning point in the second half of the game, and they couldn't really get going against her. And all the big hitters, be it Shweta Sarawat, Chloe Tryon, Sophia Carlson, all got out early, and eventually that's 4 overs. I think they were 16 for 5 in the last death overs, and that was the game, I think. But eventually the wicket was not as good. Maybe they were aiming too high. Maybe they should have tried to go for something around 160, 170. 160 won't be still enough, but 170, 180. Maybe they were aiming too high despite not looking in the consideration how the wicket was slowing down.
Yeah, because I think the way UP Warriors just went about with their batting effort really, sort of shed light on how good Delhi was with their bowling plans, right? Marizanne Kapp, so far in the season, hadn't taken a wicket, but then come this match, she seemed like an entirely different beast. Bowled a maiden, took those 2 wickets. Shafali Verma, coming out of the syllabus there, picking 2 wickets. Again, Shajin, if you briefly had to talk about Delhi Capitals and their bowling effort itself, right? Is it more a case of UP just not executing their plans well, or Delhi, sort of being on point and doing their job diligently?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. I think UP Virus could have made smarter choices. Maybe if they wanted to send in Chloe Trent, they should have sent in her head of Shweta Sarawat. But again, the set batters could have done more. That's what I felt, but eventually you would never know. But on the other hand, DC really bowled well, especially Marizanne Kapp at the start, and DC, Shafali Verma at the end. Even Nandini Sharma, I thought was really impressive, other than when she started to bounce those balls on the slower wicket. She also bowled really well. But as far as the DC's bowling innings goes, I think the way Shafali bowled was the most amazing thing to see. And props to Jemima as well for taking that bold call of bowling her not just 1 over and completing her quota of over ahead of Sneh Rana and Minumani.
Yeah, valid point, and I will, sort of get to Jamie's captaincy in a little. But I think Kavya asks us a very valid question. She goes on to ask, what is the reason of sending Asha Shobna before Deepti Sharma? Deepti is not that bad of a batter. They're sending her in at 8. Again, Shajin, let's get your thoughts on this discourse of Deepti Sharma, the batter itself, right? I think this is one thing that really polarizes fans. A lot of them feel, that she should bat way high up in that order. Some feel in the middle order, coming in as late as a 7 or an 8. Like, where do you stand on this? And again, just looking at UP Warriors in isolation and the kind of struggles they're anyways facing with the batting, do you think an elevation for Deepti Sharma up there might sort of help the cause?
Yeah, I think they were swayed by that Asha Shobna's knock against Gujarat Giants in the first game, and I don't think Dipti Sharma is that bad of a batter in this setup. I think for some a team like India where they have a lot of batting depth, they can always send her down the order and push her up if there is a collapse at the start of the innings. But other than that, the issue with again the issue with UP Warriors, they have Lanning, Harleen, and Deepti. So how they will bat around those aggressive batters? That's the issue. And maybe they should have shut Deepti Sharma ahead of Asha Somna for sure. But I don't think there was much to do for her as well. So it's again a call they have to take. Maybe they should, despite that early innings, maybe they should have think about it, and maybe I don't know how they will fit Dipti and Harleen in a 4 or 5. Maybe they should resign to the fact that Dipti Sharma will be just a bowler. But even during bowling, they weren't using the last person was asking that question as well.
Yeah, again, an interesting one there, Shachin. And again, time will tell, how UP Warriors will sort of figure this combination. And just closing this thread on UP's batting side of things, again, just coming to Delhi Capitals. And you spoke about how Jenny, right, has been marshalling her troops really well, using those bowlers well, matchups are coming out and just getting executed so beautifully. Like, what have you made of her captaincy so far? And impressive stuff. I know they started the season on a very rocky note, but a win like this would definitely not just help her confidence, but the team morale too at large.
Yeah, Jimmy really wanted that win last night, going by how she spoke at the post-match conference. Uh, Again, talking of Jimmy's captaincy, she has been really impressive, although some of the calls weren't really worked out. For instance, they started with minimum money, but I still get she's going the riskier approach. She's happy to take those approach. She was happy to bowl Nandini Sharma in the death overs, and she took Shafali Verma bowled those 4 overs and going by surprise everyone. Even during batting as a captain, she wasn't afraid to take on that. When even there is same the situation that was there in the Gujarat Giants game, she still had that courage to go after. People always will judge you by the outcome, so she would have been. She was happy to take that risk and go for it when the target was 7 of 7. So yes, she has been really impressive, but she tried to finish the game early by hitting those 4 boundaries, but eventually it came down to the last ball.
Yeah, I mean, in spite of her cameo, things really did come down to the wire. But let's talk about Delhi Capitals, right? Their batting effort. I mean, chasing what, 155 from 20 overs on any given day might seem like an easy task. But then, somehow things did end up becoming a thriller there. But talking about just the opening duo, right, of Shafali Verma and Lizelle, I think a lot of us had our expectations up here that, hey, this is such a, like fiery duo who will be opening, and they sort of justified that too, right? I think their crucial partnership of 94 obviously set the tone for Delhi. Again, Shachin, your observations of that partnership and what just worked out really well for them?
Yeah, there have been apprehensions about Lizelle and Shafali Verma, two similar kind of batters opening the innings together, but it has really worked out well for them. And in the power play, someone like Lizelle is always an advantage, and she has been really batting well even in the WPL. And in the last game against Gujarat Giants again, yeah, she scored that 80 odd runs. So it has been really working out well, but it's about how they want to use the rest of the batting order, because Laura Wolford really struggled yesterday to get going in that second phase of the innings. And even though they used Lizelle and Shafali was the second fiddle last night, and their power plays were similar, I think, going with 47 and 46. So you can say that the death over collapse of UP Warriors really helped Delhi Capitals, even though the pitch slowed down in the second half. So Lizelle is the decision to go with Lizelle and not Alana King has really paid rewards for Delhi Capitals, even though they have only one win to show for it.
Yeah, I mean, so far, just the one win to sort of show, but then Lizelle Lee too, right? To her credit, every single match showing why she's such an important part and cog in the wheel, right, for Delhi. Her knock of 67, just coming off 44 balls. I think it was, again, right up there. Can be called as one of the more authoritative knocks that we've seen this season. She also spoke about, I think, in the conversation with the broadcaster about the whole, her having a little bit of miscommunication and hearing that she might be retired out. That's why she went all guns blazing and sort of got dismissed in the process too. But again, if you just had to look at her knock, right, I think a lot of people bring in the criticism that, she can't really run as fast as, say, the other batters, but her bat clearly seems to be the talking, right, with these knocks.
Yeah, sorry, miscommunication seems to be the theme of the night last night, and yeah, again talking of her running between the wickets, Shafali and Lizelle also had their miscommunications in the power play. Shafali also fell down a couple of times, so they missed a few singles there. But it's the trade-off you make anyway with Lizelle and Shafali Verma. For me, Lizelle looked the best batter out there last night. She has been really batting well, as I said before, and she had the control percent of somewhere around 82, whereas someone like Lanning had 76%. So Lizelle has been really batting well, and she was generating her own pace because there wasn't much in the pitch, and those slog sweeps for flat sixes were really amazing to see, and those pull shots as well. So she's someone who's always amazing to see on the field, be it for Hobart Hurricanes or now for Delhi Capitals. And for me, she was the best batter of the night.
Absolutely, by a mile, and no two ways of looking at it, right? Because somewhere after Lizelle Lee's dismissal, too, right, at 114, did you somewhere feel that UP Warriors sort of missed a trick by not applying more pressure on the likes of Laura Wolfart and Jamie Rodriguez, too? Because I think for the longest time, UP has struggled with having, that wicket taking option, someone who can instantly come in and reap rewards from the surface. Sophie Eccleston comes to mind, Deepti Sharma, do, but then it's again putting a lot of pressure on the duo.
Yeah, again, the UP Warriors pushing the matchups to the extremes. They didn't bowl Deepti Sharma until the 14th over. So I don't know, if you are not going to bowl off spinners against right-handed batters, then you won't be able to bowl to a lot of batters in women's cricket. So most of the quality batters are right-handed. So that's something they will have to think again. And going by other bowlers, Sophia Christian struggled at the start. She went for 23 runs or something in the first 2 overs. And then they went for Chloe Tryon. Chloe Tryon is again someone who is a part-timer. She had her good times in the Cricket World Cup, but eventually she struggled. She really struggled on a wicket that was helping the spinners. There was some turn. And despite the fact that she was bowling half-truckers and they were really going after her, and still they continued to bowl her ahead of Deepti Sharma. And when Deepti Sharma came in, she had that wicket. Maybe they could have gone with both Deepti and Sophie Eccleston when Jimmy and Laura Wolfart were batting.
Yeah, because you could see, right, Jemmy and Laura were themselves taking a little bit of time to settle in. But once Jemmy Rodriguez got going, there's no stopping her, right? Her 21 runs came of just 14 balls. She struck those crucial 3 boundaries, right? And her strike
Yeah.
rate of 150 clearly showed that, her runs were important at that stage. So again, just talk to us about the importance of that knock. And do you think that could have sort of been the defining knock, especially in that phase?
Yeah, once Lizelle gave them that head start, they had to just be safe. But they were too cautious in the middle, and eventually Jimmy took on Deepti Sharma and played those 2 reverse sweeps, and that really helped. Even at 7 needed of 8, then she was going for it, but eventually it came down to the last ball for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, that's it. I think credit to UP Warriors, right, for still keeping the match alive because despite Jenny doing her bit and ensuring the chase didn't drift, Laura Wolfart too, right, was taking her time at the other end. She remained unbeaten on 25. But where do you think like the match did eventually end up coming till there, right? I mean, both sides just absolute dogfight as to who's going to lose. But then still, right? I think credit to Deepti Sharma for some smart bowling there at the end, and Laura Wolfart too, right, to take her team across the show safely.
Yeah, that way it was a proper bottom table clash. Both teams wanting to lose, no one really wanting to win, or both teams were struggling. In the second half, both teams eventually struggled because of the surface as well. And Dipti and Sophie Eccleston really bowled well in the last few overs. Sophie Eccleston last over was really good, but again they could have sent. It's the small thing they could have sent in Chanel Henry ahead of Marizanne Kapp, because Marizanne Kapp seems to be taking a few balls, and you can't take that few balls. Even in that game, the first ball she defended, even in this two balls she really defended. She was looking for singles. Maybe she could have. They could have sent in Chanel Henry in the last over and have had her go for a free hit in the 19th over, but eventually all that ends well. Ends well.
Yeah, I think at least Delhi would look at it this way because the loss would have really meant like, hey, where are we going with this campaign? Like we were so close to registering a win, but it didn't sort of work out. But even Shachin, like if you had to look at the learnings and takeaways, right, for UP Warriors from this game, there's obviously a lot of structural issues they need to figure out, and there's only so much you can do with the kind of squad you're doing, right? I think a lot of people have spoken about how a lot of your results are determined at the auction table. UP had a mixed bag sort of an auction, although a lot of people were raving about the kind of choices that they had. So how do you see, the rest of the season pan out for UP Warriors and just learnings and takeaways because they just play a game tonight? So yeah, it's just like that.
Yeah, there isn't enough time to have a lot of learnings. But again, as I said, at the auction table they had a mixed auction, but they had some great individuals. They have managed to sign on, be it Phoebe Litchfield or Lanning, or even Dipti Sharma. They got Dipti Sharma back, but they weren't really using her at least till the 14th over. So the issue is that I don't know how. I think they are already more confused about their batting order than us. They don't know who to open with. I think they will go with Kiran Navagiri and Meg Lanning for now, and they will be having Phoebe Litchfield at three. Then they have then where the issue. Sweta Sarawat is batting either too low, or then Dipti Sharma doesn't have a role with the bat. So it's something they will have to. I think maybe they should think of bringing back Doughton again in place of Chloe Tryon. Chloe Tryon has been a support player for all the sides. She has been in franchise cricket. She's not like a first choice player. She's like a good team player who will be in the squad for in case of some emergency or some injury issues. But she hasn't played a single game at least until last night. So there is some reason for that. So maybe they should try to bring that firepower. That's the only firepower they have available with DeAndre Lawton. That's something they can do. As far as bowling is concerned, they will have still rely on the Indian bowlers other than Sophie Eccleston, of course. Asha Shobna bowled really well last night. I thought she really bowled. She was getting the ball to turn and really slowing it down, and she really troubled Laura Wolford. So that's something good to see. They have some positives, and Krantigaud also I think bowled really well. So maybe that and better usage of Sophie Eccleston and Dipti Sharma can be something they can look at. And they shouldn't be relying on someone like Chloe Tryon to bowl in the power play or even in the early middle overs.
Yeah, definitely. I think these are some areas they can sort of look into too. But even for Delhi Capitals, right, this is their first win. So, Shachin, if you had to put in perspective what this win means, right, not just for the fans, but the unit at large, just infuses, right, a lot of confidence and hopefully they can just grow from strength to strength.
Yeah, Delhi Capital always had that good squad, and it was just about getting that point on board. Uh, Again, they really look like they will win, but they might not. Again, like that, you Gujarat Giants game. So it's something they will have to think about. But once you get across the line, you will be confident, and maybe they can bowl a little bit better in the first half of the innings, and maybe they will have to decide if they want to utilize more of Shafali Verma. Maybe they can bring in someone for minimum money if they are not going to really utilize her bowling. You don't need three off spinners, but as far as Shafali is concerned, she is very confident about bowling in any phase of the match. And I think even the Delhi Capitals and just like India, they are confident in her bowling, and she has been bowling really well as well. But I don't know if she can bowl 4 overs every time. And even Jimmy spoke about Jimmy was like, she's not the last option. She's something we really actively look for as a bowler. So maybe that's not a worry for them. But batting, as far as again concerned, once Lizelle and Shafali Verma starting, maybe they can tweak a little bit. For instance, last night maybe they could have sent in Jimmy ahead of Laura Wolford, considering the slow nature of the wicket. And Jimmy is someone who's known for her sweeps and reverse sweeps on slow wickets. Maybe that's something they can look at. But again, they don't have a lot of worries as far as I am concerned.
Yeah, fair points there, Shajin. And let's probably also take a look at our live chat. There was this comment I wanted to take early before I jumped into DC's batting side of things. Kavya again goes on to ask, or probably just tell us, that I think UP Warriors should give a try to someone like a G Trisha in place of Harleen. She's a very talented batter. Again, like, where do you stand on this side? Because you look at Trisha, she's primarily like an opening batter. Again, bringing in her, out of position at number three or probably lower down that order might just make things all the more confusing and not a very good team environment, because we're bringing so many changes. Where is the morale of the team going to head, right?
Yeah, again, once you are losing, you are always looking for what are the changes you can make to make the 11 better. Good question, Kavya. Again, going for talking about G Trisha, she's someone who is really talented, and I really rate her. But again, she's someone who's in the similar vein of Harleen or Deepti Sharma or even Pratika Rawal. They have a lot of these batters in this lineup. So G Trisha, again, if you have to bring her in, and you will have to open the batting with Meg Lanning, again, though two similar sort of players opening the batting. I think they should persist with Kiran Navgiri if that's the way they want to go. Maybe they should let Lanning take a bulk of the strike against someone like Shabnam Ismail, and let's see how it goes. Or the other thing they can do is go back to Harleen and open with Harleen and Lanning. But then again, the issue will be the power play batting. So I don't know what they will decide, but going by what they have been talking, I think they will still go by Kiran Navgiri and Harleen Deol. I don't see Jitrisha play.
Yeah, at least in the near future, we may not really see her get an opportunity. We have a couple more questions too. Like, this is, I think, probably more from the Meg Lanning perspective. Three matches, same mistakes from Meg Lanning as captain, over relying on the sixth bowler. Last night was the second time, Deepthi did not complete her 4 overs. Someday, Eccleston bowls only three. Goes on to add, imagine Deepthi bowled that one extra over instead of Tryon. Are these calls from Meg or Abhishek? So again, Shajin, if you had to look at this aspect of Meg Lanning's captaincy itself, I think we're not even qualified enough to talk about it because of the kind of repertoire of trophies that she already has in her trophy cabinet. But WPL has been a steep learning curve and experience for her. Playing against a former franchise, now playing for UP Warriors. A lot of times her captaincy has come under the scanner. But again, these, nitty gritties and like the smaller calls, like, what did you make of it?
Yeah, you can't really say learning curve, but it's a different setup and different dynamics. I don't know about who is taking these calls because both Meg Lanning and Abhishek Nair are strong personalities with their own opinions about the game, and they might be having different point of view and point of design. But they were just like Steliaker said, they were on board with all those calls, and so maybe I think they take that matchups to the extreme with Deepti Sharma not bowling her on that surface, at least the 14th over. And talking of same mistakes by Meg Lanning, you never know who's taking these calls. Maybe Abhishek Nair has a set way of doing this, and Meg Lanning has a set way of doing things. Because Meg Lanning had a good couple of seasons at DC in the first, as far as captaincy is concerned. Maybe she took a questionable calls in the third season, but again, you have no way of knowing who is taking these calls. So when you win, everything looks good. When you are losing, you can't really say captaincy is not. But still, they could have done well. I don't see using someone like Chloe Tryon in the power play was a good decision.
Yeah, fair point there. And again, hopefully, UP can figure out some things and just iron out those deficiencies. And at large, to Shajin, when you look at the whole crowd situation, right? Right now in Mumbai, the BMC election is going on, which meant, we didn't see crowds last night and in tonight's game as well. But even though whatever little we got to see of it, right? Like, were you happy that, hey, there's still, people thronging the stadiums interested to watch this match, and hope that, a clash like this does not happen anytime in the future?
Yeah, they could have planned better. They knew about the election dates by December 15th. They could have changed. They could have maybe ended the DY Patil leg on 13th and went to Vadodara and came back here for the knockout matches. Maybe they don't want to have that extra travel. You never know what these people are thinking. Even the weekend matches ideally should be Mumbai Indians or RCB playing so that they have the more fan following and they will be more crowd. But crowds has been really good, but eventually you can't control when the crowd is not allowed. So there was hardly 200 people around last night, and it will be the same case today as well.
Yeah, that's true. And I think there's another comment in our live chat that we can probably take up. Avinash goes on to ask us, are they taking these matchups too seriously, like, right? Like using Tryon against right-handers. The previous night, Gardner said she did not bowl against Harman because of matchup, and that's why she bowled like late. Do you think because of the infusion of data analytics in women's cricket, and for a lot of these players, it's new stuff, right? Even I think in another conversation, the Indian players were talking about DRS and how that infusion has taken a lot of time to get used to. They get a lot of decisions wrong too in that regard. But again, Shajin, like, where do you stand on this about matchups and the use of technology itself at large?
Yeah, matchups should be taken seriously, but you will have to combine it with game awareness, what kind of surface they were playing on, and the ability of the bowler as well. If they had someone like N. Sricharani or another Sophia Eccleston, then maybe they could have tried that against the right-handers. But Chloe Tryon is someone who is a part-timer who has been bowling reasonably well in the Cricket World Cup, but eventually she bowled a lot of half-truckers and loose balls, and that cost them. Even talking of Ash Garner has been someone who is a reluctant bowler as far as captaincy is concerned, but that's not similarly as the matchups issue that UP Warriors had. She always had that reluctance to bowl against right hand batters who go after her, be it Harman, Richa Ghosh. Especially against Harman, she has struggled, and she even talked about it. Maybe I should have bowled. Maybe we will see in the coming matches, but she hasn't been completing her quota of overs. That's something. Maybe you can talk about the wrong usage of matchups there, because eventually most of the batters in women's cricket are right-hand batters, so you will have to bowl at them if you are an off spinner. That's the only choice you have.
Yeah, fair point there. And almost as we reach the end of our discussion as well, Shajin, do you have any last and final thoughts? Because tonight we are in for another, I hope, interesting match because Mumbai Indians have sort of been on a roll, winning square off against UP Warriors, a team that clearly is in a weird slump, right? Also, sort of throws in perspective about how the scheduling itself, right, has been quite lackluster. Teams playing such back-to-back games. There are break days that come in a little later on in the tournament. But then at last, like, how do you look at this play out?
Yeah, scheduling has been a little bit indifferent, you can say that. The thing is that you don't have a lot of turnaround time when you lose, and you can continue the momentum when you are winning, but again you don't have to think a lot when you are losing. But as far as UP Warriors are concerned, it's really hard schedule for them. They had that two losses, then they came against DC, and they will be playing continuous matches against Mumbai, back-to-back matches. That will be hard again. At Mumbai is stronghold at DY Patil, and they have the batting to really challenge any sort of bowling, and not someone like UP Warriors who has been struggling. So it will be interesting to see how they go, and maybe this is the night where they register their first win. But I will still back Mumbai Indians to get better of UP Warriors.
Yeah, an early prediction coming in there, and I think we can all hope against hope that UP Warriors can sort of do that. Avinash goes on to also say, "See you guys tomorrow, and hope UP wins because if they don't, it takes away from the excitement, from WPL. If any one team, plays so poorly, I mean, fair point there. It's just five teams, and one team struggling like this really doesn't make for good reading." But yeah, folks, that does conclude our discussion. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you all for joining us in the live chat, asking such pertinent questions, which sort of helped our discussion as well, and Shajin too for sharing some amazing perspectives. You'll again catch us tomorrow discussing all things about the Mumbai versus UP match. Hopefully, we get to see a little bit of an upset there, and yeah, folks, we will continue doing these WPL morning shows. So yeah, see you there. Thank you so much. Cheers.
Thank you so much.